Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Cal. Okay, agenda item 1, members, is apologies. We only have one from Councillor Alexander. Are there any other apologies from the floor? If not, could you notify Hilary of any further ones? Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Members, unless there's an indication, we will take them as we go through the papers. Agenda item 3, the first item, indoor leisure gym closing times. I'm going to hand over to Paul, and before that, Paul may give us a wee update here on the Dromore Leisure Centre.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. Unfortunately, I just need to brief members on the fact we've just had a power cut in Dromore. So, unfortunately, the centre's closed. We're hoping and speaking with NIE at the minute and hoping to have it back up some point this evening, but it's between 9, half 9. We're expecting the power to be back on. So just a bit of an update. We've only just had the word that unfortunately the power's out at the moment in Dromore. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, members, so Paul, point 1 then.
Thank you, Chair. And 3.1 is a decision item. It is in relation to a request from last meeting in relation to the gym closing time. So the information's in the report, and the request is just to have a consistent approach in relation to the gym closing in all the centres. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, so there is just a bit of harmonisation involved in this, members. So I have a number of people requesting to speak. Councillor Hare, are you indicating to speak? Well, you have indicated, but you're not looking to. Do you want to just press that way? That's you sorted. Alderman Tinsley?
Coming out. Thank you, Chair. Chair, I had indicated just whenever Paul had given us the update on Dromore, I just actually was wanting really a bit of an update on the email we received last week with regards to the squash courts and the plumbing problem that we had at South Lake Leisure Centre. I suppose, Chair, where I'm really coming from is several months ago we had the problem with the sewage coming into the reception area, again with regards to plumbing. And really what my concern is, have we had an audit on the plumbing to make sure that we're not going to have yet another issue? Have we been in contact with the contractor? Are we under guarantee? Are we able to claim any, is that work being done at our expense? Or is that something that the contractor is covering under the guarantee? And I suppose I'm really just concerned about the plumbing of the whole leisure centre going forward, that it's unfair for the staff and everything and the users of the leisure centre to be coming up against all of these different issues. And Chair, just in the final point, there's always a flushing problem in the toilets. And I just wonder, can that be looked at as part of the audit on the plumbing issue? Is that part of the plumbing problem that we're having in the leisure centre? It's a new leisure centre. We shouldn't be having these issues. And that's not to do with our staff running the leisure centre. It's to do with how the plumbing has been set up in the first place. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Tinsley. I would be slightly concerned that's more of an AOB matter, and I understand you've now come in on what Paul raised. I am going to bring Darren in just to give you a quick reply, although I don't intend to spend a huge amount of time. I think it needs picked up after the meeting.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Alderman Tinsley, for the point you raised, but probably more of a holding response. If anything, just there's some detail that you have requested that we'll take that away and look at it properly so you can get a fuller response, but we are working with colleagues in estates with maintenance just to kind of pick up on all of these issues. And we are continuing to engage with the original contractor on a number of fronts. So, look, that is ongoing, but I will get more specifics in relation to that. But can I just put on record my thanks to the staff who did deal with that issue? It was picked up later than what it would have been had we not have been closed, I guess, for the storm on that day. I guess the staff tried their very best to do as much as they could for that building, and particularly to try and save the floor. And it was in vain in some respects because the water had been coming for too long. So look, just to put on record my thanks to them, but we will come back to you with a fuller response on that, Alderman Tinsley. Thank you.
And I won't prolong this. Chair, thank you. Again, I just want to make Chair very clear that this is not anything to do with our staff. Our staff have worked very, very hard in getting all of those issues resolved. It's basically just my concern going forward that we're not going, but there's no point rehashing all of what I've asked for. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to propose this item on the gym closing times, and thank you to Paul and other officers for coming back so quickly with it, since I raised it at last month's committee. And I suppose it's part of the wider leisure indoor review as well, and I think it will provide that consistency for people, especially those on a standard membership, maybe utilising 2 or 3 gyms in the week, and so they're not getting confused about which gym's closing at what time, or one's getting extra than the others. The only thing I'd say is, just from the comms perspective, is if we can maybe stick a sign on the gym door just informing people, or on the notice board, and I'm sure as a matter of process it'll be updated on the Get Active ABC app. But yeah, happy to propose, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson, and fair play to you for bringing this to the attention of the committee previously. So, Alderman Wilson?
Yeah, thank you. It's just really, I suppose I had a conversation with Councillor Armstrong on this, as he is the Armagh rep for our party. But it was just, it asked me to raise a few things about this, just in terms of the orchard and the earlier closing time of 9:30 in general. It was just to get the rationale for that, when most of the other facilities are, a 10 p.m. closure, and also just in terms of the bank holiday there for St Patrick's Day, just the rationale behind that. Is it data based? I know it's a big day in Armagh. I'm not, I'm obviously conscious of that, but I know, 2024, I think they opened 9 to 5, yet we're proposing to close. So it's just to get a wee bit of the background as to why that's the case, if that could be provided.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson, for your question. And we did anticipate this causing a bit of discussion. And you'll note the next paper on the agenda as well is looking at holiday closures, particularly for South Lake. Look, there are a number of historical and legacy opening arrangements across indoor leisure sites, and I suppose what we're going to do as part of the indoor leisure review is review that across the board and try and standardise across the board. So where there are anomalies, what I would say is it's just not as straightforward maybe as opening up for the extra half hour or closing all the rest of the centres for a half an hour earlier. That has some implications for us around a few other staffing matters and things like that we just wouldn't want to get into, I suppose, in open business. But I guess that's something that we do need to look at as part of our indoor leisure review, which we are going to undertake to do going forward. So we are noting, just I suppose, the comments rather than coming back and say there's a rationale. Lots of this is legacy and historic, and we're just trying to get to grips with what are the issues, where are the anomalies, and I suppose we know from doing this work that we're going to see more of them coming through, and there's an appetite certainly from an officer perspective to start addressing those. So that's why we're going to bring in what we think we can do now, and then we intend to plan for what we think we need to do going forward as well. So I know that's maybe not a direct answer to your question, but I suppose setting out just the agenda that we plan to take going forward.
I suppose just following on from that through the chair, will our decisions be data led, in terms of user response and feedback? It'll not be, and I know we'll have to give obvious due regard to our staff, but sometimes that can clash slightly with what the customer expects or would like to see happen versus the realities, of you rightly said, of providing a service. But will it be centric upon what our service users would like to see?
Yeah, there's probably a couple of things in relation to that, Alderman Wilson. One is about consistency across the board, and the other piece is, well, you've mentioned data, so yes, you will see in the next report as well that we are relying on some of the data to kind of shape some of the decisions that we would like to make. And so you will see we can pull the data for usage at certain times of the day and how many swipes people are coming in and out of the building and that sort of stuff with their membership cards and things like that. So yes, we will be using that just to kind of shape and inform members and provide as much information to you as so that you can make an informed decision when it comes to this. And what we will say is that we won't operate as a team of officers in isolation on this, because the decision to change and alter the opening times of our facilities will be solely down to elected members making those decisions. So that will be in your hands, if I can push it back to you that way. So yeah, that's what we would intend to do, but we'll provide you with as much information as we can so you can make as informed decision as you can.
Thank you, Darren. Alderman Baxter.
Yeah, it's just an unrelated thing, Chair, if you'll indulge me, just in terms of the YouTube link. From here this evening, I'm getting complaints there that it's not working properly from the general public there, but I'm not sure. It could be the 4G's maybe down, or internet's still down, or electric's still off in certain places, but I just don't know if there's an issue there, but just to highlight it there, if IT can look at it.
Thank you, Alderman Baxter. I'm getting the nod from IT to say doesn't appear to be an issue. It sounds like it could be geographical. Maybe if other members are aware of it happening beyond maybe your own area, or we'll maybe pick up on it, but as far as I'm aware, there isn't. Members, I am conscious we don't have a seconder as of yet. Are you happy to second it? Councillor Herr is happy to second. I've still got Councillor O'Hanlon here online. Councillor O'Hanlon, unfortunately we can't hear you, so you may want to check your mute button.
Hi, I have it now. No way, I was still on mute. It was in relation to the same point as Alderman Wilson raised in relation to the closure of on St Patrick's Day in Armagh. Is there a reason? Note in the report it says parade. Orchard Leisure Centre is on the Newry Road, and the parade's down around the city centre.
Sorry, members, just bear with me. I actually thought that was in 3.2 rather than 3.1, but I believe it is. Just bear with us 1 second. Thank you for your patience, members. Councillor O'Hanlon, just for a point of information, it's actually 3.2 you're referring to. We're still on 3.1, but Darren's going to come in and actually respond to your point here now. Do you want to indicate?
Yeah. Members, at Appendix 1 in 3.2, there is a 3-year plan that was put before elected members in 2023. I think it was in October 2023, I think, just setting out closures across the piece that was approved and agreed by members. And the reason it's back at 3.2 this evening is just to make an amendment to that around Easter. So if there's to be amendments made to that, I mean, we're in members' hands on it, but the plan has been previously agreed, so, and has been through committee at that point in time. So
Councillor Hanlon, I'm aware we're actually coming on to 3.2 next. I have a proposer and a seconder for 3.1. Members, are we agreed on that, or are you looking to come back in?
No, I'm happy to pick it up then in 3.2.
This is the way my screen's going on this. There we are. Okay, members, thank you. We're going to move on to 3.2, and I'm going to hand over to Paul for this.
Thank you, Chair. So item 3.2 is a decision item, and it's specifically in relation to South Lake and the opening hours over Christmas and Easter. I'm happy to take any feedback or questions in relation to this, but the ask is, rather than our normal opening hours on the weekends of those periods, which is 8 to 7, it's reduced to 9 to 5, and the reasons are outlined in the report, and there's some of the swipes and the details in relation to that. So happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, members. Paul, thank you for the report. Are there any questions from the floor? If not, we do require Councillor O'Hanlon's back in with a request. Councillor O'Hanlon.
Yeah, Chair, just to send clarity then in relation to the St Patrick's Day opening in Armagh on in 25 and 26. I think, and again, Alderman Wilson referred to decisions been data led. Is there a reason why they've decided to close on the dates in 25 and 26, and it was open on normal hours in 2024?
Councillor O'Hanlon, I'm not sure if you've missed this. This decision was actually made in 2023. So do you maybe want to pick this up with officers maybe this evening or later on? That's actually not the discussion or a conversation we're having in 3.2. It seems to be a completely separate one.
And the data is before us, and we were in relation to it, and said if we could if there was any other query. So I'm raising another query.
And I want to thank you for that, but also the recommendation is it is recommended members approve the amendments to the opening hours of SLLC during the holiday periods as detailed in the report. So I would agree to disagree with you on that. I think the decision we're asking for tonight is regards those opening hours. So if you've got a query relating to the St Patrick's Day stuff, and it seems like a very valid query, I suggest you bring it up with council officers, and your comments have been noted. So members, I do need a proposer and a seconder if you are going to move on. Councillor O'Kane. Alderman Tinsley, thank you. Okay, members, all agreed? Okay, thank you. Item 3.3, I'm going to hand over to Gillian.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. Item 3.3, contribution to Mary Peters Trust. In order to continue to support up-and-coming athletes from the Borough, it's recommended that approval be given to financially support the Mary Peters Trust for 25-26 with a contribution of £1,000. This is in line with the last 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Gillian. I'm going to bring in Alderman Tinsley.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. And yes, happy to propose. And also I would like to congratulate Lady Mary. This is the 50th year of the Mary Peters Trust, in which 50 years ago Lady Mary decided to help and support young athletes within Northern Ireland. And perhaps we could have a letter. I don't want to now complicate proposals and recommend, but if we could possibly have a letter of congratulations to Lady Mary on 50 years of the Trust, I think that would be very, very appropriate. I don't know whether that comes from the mayor, but or whether that comes from the chair of the committee, director. I'm not sure, but as long as someone sends on behalf of our council a letter of congratulations to Lady Mary Peters. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Tinsley. I don't think anybody's ever asked me to write a letter, so I'm going to take a shot at that if they'll let me. Alderman Baxter.
Every second. Oh. Sorry, happy to second that, Chair, if nobody's done that already. Sorry.
Didn't mean to start you, Alderman Baxter. Right, so we have a proposer and a seconder. If we are all agreed, we can do the latter as well. Yeah, I don't see any issue with that. Okay, members, thank you. Members, item 3.4 and 3.5 are information items. Are there any questions or queries relating to this? Councillor Ashley Mallon. I think you're on mute, Ashley.
Is that better? I just have a quick query on 3.4 there. It says Katie Recreation Centre, it is 11.4% cancellation in classes, and I was wondering why. Why is it so high? Is it staff morale or sickness, or what is it?
Thank you, Ashley. I'm going to hand over to Paul just for that.
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. Yes, we are aware that Keady has slightly higher cancellations than the other sites. It's something that we're looking at. Keady is a little bit more rural, which is a bit more challenging in terms of getting coverage for staff to travel up to cover it. There is a little bit of sickness in there as well, but it is definitely a focus similar to Rafa Island. It is potentially an option for us to look at alternative ways of doing some classes as well. So I would note they also do quite a lot of classes compared to some of the tier 2 sites. So we are trying to utilise the facilities as best we can. But yes, it is something that we are aware of. Keady is slightly higher, and we are working towards getting more coaches. We're recruiting coaches on a fairly regular basis and hope to have this number come down significantly in the next couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Alderman Baxter.
I think Alderman was in before me.
Going to bring in Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, it's just on 3.4 on the indoor leisure fitness classes update. It was just something that's been on my mind in terms of the Rich Hill facility. And I know there are, classes ongoing in Rich Hill Recreation Centre, but there's, I suppose, out of all the centres, Rich Hill is sort of devoid of that gym type facility. And I think there's an opportunity maybe now in the months ahead and I would like to make it a proposal that we really focus on trying to eke out some type of opportunity for a gym type facility for Rich Hill. I think that would be really useful in this climate, and I would like to make it a proposal that would do some work. I'm not asking for something to be done, within the next 3 weeks type of thing, but just that we do pay some attention to the fact that out of all our centres, Rich Hill is missing that gym type facility. I know there's the spin classes and that in it, and they're really well attended and they go down quite well. And I'm also thinking in terms of our outdoor provision, we're working on that piece in terms of the mugga and the fact that it's now out of circulation for a number of weeks or potentially months. And I know Claire's doing a lot of work on that, and I know that's sitting with another committee in terms of a paper going forward. But in terms of the indoor provision, I think we have a wee opportunity there that should be utilised, and there's space for it, and I would like to see gym facilities brought forward for Rich Hill Recreation Centre. Thanks.
Alderman Wilson, just for clarity, because I'm aware, obviously, there's difficulties around proposals from committees about financial implications. Are you asking for officers to go away and do work regarding potential rather than jumping to the end point and working back?
sorry, I get, Chair, totally where you're coming from. I'm total harmony with you on that. It's just that preparatory work to go, well, how would we achieve this? What would it look like cost-wise? Where could we secure some finance for that? It just hasn't been done yet, and I would like to see it done, because Rich Hill is a really important facility for local people there. So just from that basis.
Okay, I'm just going to bring in Paul here. Do you want to indicate there? No.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson. I suppose under the indoor leisure review, we're looking at a number of potential investor save options. Yeah, you'll probably be well aware of council considering a number of those across through the efficiencies working group and those sorts of things. So we're more than happy to keep considering that as part of that review, and we'll be bringing probably a number of things back in the future, and certainly we'll make sure Rich Hill is considered as one of those as per your request.
Alderman Wilson, I suppose this is maybe dragged itself. Based on that, are you happy, are you content now that officers are going to do the work that will bring it? Yeah, so we don't actually need a formal second or anything like that. Obviously, officers are content to go in and do the work. Okay, sound. Councillor O'Hanlon online.
Yes, Chair, thank you. Just in relation to the breakdown for the fitness class stats, would it be possible, and I don't expect officers to have it tonight, but a breakdown as to the rationale or the reason in each of the locations as to why classes were cancelled? Was it due to a lack of uptake, or was it due to staff unavailability, or for whatever reason? And then in relation to some of the sites, so I'm taking a look at the like Katie there, that some of them there's a 44% attendance. Are we engaging with the customer base up there and trying to establish what classes we're offering? Are we offering the right mix of classes, or is there something more that people would like to see? I think that would be useful. So maybe if officers could go in and do some work on that and come back to us in due course.
Okay, yes, I'm told, Councillor O'Hanlon, that whatever information is available to help bring that together will be made available. Councillor Ashley Mullen has just disappeared. That's the last of the request, members. It is an information item, so we don't actually need any more proposers or seconders. So, members, if we're all agreed, we can move on to 3.5, the Sports Development Report. Any questions regarding that? Probably a bit less controversial. Okay, members. Move on to agenda item 4. 4.1, I'm going to hand over to Ruth.
Evening, members. The Police and Community Safety Partnership is required to undertake an annual review of its action plan. This was completed in November, and the draft action plan was approved in principle by the partnership on the 16th of January. The action plan is now required to be submitted to the Joint Committee for consideration, and it is recommended that members approve to submit the action plan to the Department of Justice and the NI Policing Board for approval, and to accept the letter of offer when received.
Thank you, Ruth. Alderman Baxter.
Just to declare an interest as Chair of the PCSP.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Baxter, and also for the prompt for me to declare an interest as member of the PCSP as well. Councillor Flaherty.
Yeah, that's me now. Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, I also need to declare an interest, but if I just may, I think it would be unusual if I didn't mention one thing, and this is the Get Home Safe bus. I think you sit with me on the PCSP. You know I bring this up every month. I have to say how grateful I am to the PCSP for the amount of work they do. I don't think sometimes it is really appreciated if you're not in the middle of it. I'm sure you agree, Chair. They step in as you can see there from the appendix, just a multitude of things. But this Get Home Safe bus has been a bane for me a wee bit, because I think it really genuinely is extremely unfair that that resource is being solely filtered into one area, when we know we have an expanding nighttime economy in Portadown, which deserves to be promoted and enhanced in the same way. It falls, as you know too, Keith, under different schemes at sometimes, so it's sitting there under improving community safety and tackling ASB. I think that fits pretty much. I think it's just fair to say that the majority of the nightlife, pubs and restaurants, for example, are in Portadown, and I still hold the belief that such a service should not be centred exclusively in Lurgan. I'll keep working at it, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty, and I don't disagree with you. I think it should be expanded to cover Portadown as well. Alderman Burns.
Thank you, Chair. And just to come in on the back of what Councillor Flaherty has said, I think that, you know, with the size of the borough now and the nighttime economies in each area struggling at times, it would be nice to have this looked at for the whole of the borough. Can I ask, so it's just, I take it it's just the Lurgan area this operates in? Yeah. And how does it operate? Do we tender out for this, or does a PCSP tender out for it? How many people use it? And how is it monitored? Can I have those questions answered, please? Thank you.
Alderman, happy to take that back and ask for one of the PCSP officers to give you a wee summary of how the scheme works, how it's procured, and the level of take-up. And they will be over that detail more than I will at this point.
Thank you, Ruth. Councillor Radcliffe.
Thank you, Chair. Like many in the room tonight, one of my biggest concerns is one of the biggest issues here that we'll have, obviously, drugs and alcohol in the whole community. It's a huge concern. It's in schools now as well, unfortunately. And many of us here tonight have children and grandchildren and so on. And I know the police is trying to do as much as possible. It's very hard, obviously, to catch the perpetrators that are actually dealing in drugs and other issues with it. But one of my questions is, and I know obviously they do some of this, but is it possible for the police to go to every single school in ABC? Because I think communicating with our young people is so vital, to tell them about the dangers of the drugs at the moment. I know they do go into some schools, but the question is every school attended once a year? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Radcliffe. And I would doubt anybody would disagree with you on the severity of the issue that we're all facing. I understand they do, from being on the PCSP, they do go on to a lot of the schools, certainly the secondary schools. If you're thinking of specific schools, probably the easiest way would be to directly contact the PCSP and maybe request for them to attend the school. I'm not sure if any of the other members know if it's standard that they visit every school. I don't think it's every school. But we can find out as well. I mean, it would be interesting for all of us to know that as well. But if you're thinking of a specific school, I would encourage you to maybe get them to contact our PCSP officers. Okay, I'm going to bring in Alderman Glenn Barr. We've dropped out. We had 2 requests online and now they're both gone. I'm reluctant to move on. Members, hold on. Councillor O'Hanlon is indicated back in. If anybody has contact with Alderman Barr, could you let him know that he's dropped out and if he wants a request again?
No, Chair, I was just picking up on your point in relation to the schools. I know the like of St Patrick's High School here in Katy and the schools in Armagh have the police in on those talks on an annual basis. And I know they get good support from the PCSP in doing so. So would definitely recommend it to any of the schools who aren't availing of it at the minute to definitely reach out and do it. But also the community and voluntary sector, and particularly our sporting clubs, are doing a lot of work to raise the issue about drugs and drug awareness.
thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon. Alderman Barr.
Thank you, Chair. I think I hit the wrong button there by mistake. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sorry, Alderman Barr, we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just to concur there about the drugs, but I do think a bit of work needs to be done regarding vaping. You know, there's kids at 13, 14 years of age and they shouldn't be able to buy them. However, they're run around, it's wholesale, and the long-term implications of that is yet to be seen. Potentially a piece of work maybe the PCSP would like to take on. But equally, just on that, regarding sort of moving forward with regarding the females, they potentially should be looking at schemes where, like, education on teaching women or even men on the implications of what to look out for. Maybe attack alarms as well. And finally, the Get Home Safe bus, I was going to raise that as well. I'm struggling to see how £20,000 for one location is value for money whenever we can't get full information whenever we're asking for it. I would like that report to come back to committee rather than just my colleague Alderman Burns. I think that should come back and we should be having a full discussion, a full open, frank discussion on £28,000 going to one location. As other commenters have said about their areas, Portadown, obviously I'm Banbridge and Rathfarnell, you know, £28,000 for one location is a bit large from my own perspective. Just a few comments and maybe a few comments back from PCSP. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Barr. I think that was your request to join the PCSP next year by the sounds of it, because I do think we cover quite a lot of it in fairness, but there is, going by tonight's comments, there obviously is a slight blockage in terms of that information filtering through maybe to the wider membership, which is something we may need to look at in terms of reports, but I'm not sure if you had a specific question. I think a lot of that stuff, Ruth, would probably need to be picked up by PCSP staff regarding that. Are you happy enough with that? Okay. All right, members, I haven't had a proposer or a seconder. Do you want to come in on that? I'm going to bring Councillor Herr in.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to propose.
Okay, thank you, members. Anybody who's not on PCSP that wants to second? Alderman Tinsley. Okay. All right, members, thank you. If we're all agreed then. Okay, we're going to move on to 4.2 and I'm going to hand back over to Ruth.
Thank you, Chair. This report is regarding the Public Health Agency Letter of Enhancement for the Health Inequalities Programme, which is funded largely by the Public Health Agency with some financial support from Council. The PHA have now provided additional funding of just over £13,000 for the programme in year, which will be delivered in line with existing programme priorities. So it is recommended that members agree to accept the letter of enhancement from the PHA, which provides additional funding for the delivery of the programme within the current 2024-25 year.
Thank you, Ruth. We have a number of speakers. Councillor O'Hanlon online.
Chair, just to declare non-pecuniary interest as an employee of the Department of Health, of which the PHA is an arm's length body.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon. Members, I still need a proposer and a seconder for this one. I know it's a bit of a formality, but if we could. Alderman Tinsley.
Yes, Chair, I'm happy to propose. Chair, just by way of noting, I don't know whether there's any feedback on this, and I don't want to sound negative, but the slow cooker programme, I hear if everybody is into these air fryers as opposed to the slow cooker, and I'm just wondering, is there feedback in that I think the community would be uplifting that programme quicker than this? You know, to me, the slow cooker is nearly like a dated. Maybe I'm wrong.
Alderman Tinsley.
Okay, I don't cook.
Alderman Tinsley. You have made the mistake that I made. Yeah, you're right to find out. I'm going to hand over to Ruth.
I'd be happy to have a chat with you about it afterwards, Alderman Tinsley. Having previously worked with the PHA on slow cooker programmes when I was working in the Health Trust, there are advantages for slow cookers in the way in which they can encourage low cost and highly nutritious food, and that's where they have an advantage over air fryers. But I appreciate there is interest in air fryers, but it's nutritional benefits as well as the cost saving benefits. Happy to chat again.
It sounds like we could have a workshop on slow cookers and air fryers, but we'll avoid that for the minute. We'll Councillor O'Halloran, you've still indicated to speak. I'm assuming you. No, he's away. Okay. I still need somebody to second this, members, if possible. So, Councillor Radcliffe. Okay. Okay, members, that's us worked our way through item 4. So, agenda item 5, correspondence. There's none that I'm aware of. So, I need a proposer and a seconder. Sorry, I have a request from Councillor Nelson online. I assume this is before we go in.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, it is just before you go into confidential. I have a non-pecuniary interest in item 6.0, but as my sister does own a business in Southlake, I wouldn't feel comfortable taking part in the meeting or staying on, so I'm going to leave at this point. Could I ask for a renewed link? Because I don't think the link will work, to let me in second, and for someone to send me that when that item has been discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. I've just been told that that same link will work, and if it doesn't, can you let one of your party colleagues in the chamber know? But that should still work. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a proposer and a seconder to go into committee? Alderman Tinsley, Alderman Baxter. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into the confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask the ICT officer to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed? Thank you, Cahill. Okay, members, I need another proposer and seconder to agree to the recommendations we have just made in committee. Councillor McCartan, need a seconder. Alderman Tinsley again. Thank you. Okay, members, agenda item 7, any other relevant business, of which I have none that has been indicated. So with that, I'm going to draw the meeting to a close and thank you all for your attendance, including members online and to the officers for all your work that goes into these meetings. So safe home, see you next month.